Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. May I request all of you to settle down, please? We are gathered here today to commemorate the 5th anniversary of the India-UN Development Partnership Fund. I welcome all of you to this event. We have amongst us Honorable Minister of State for External Affairs, His Excellency Mr. V Muraleedharan, and our Ambassador and Permanent Representative of India, Ms. Ruchira Kamboj. We are also graced by the presence of Associate Administrator, UNDP, and ASG for UNDP, Ms. Kanni Vignaraja. Without further ado, I would like to begin the event today. I now have the honor of calling Ms. Grace Wang, Trust Fund Director, UN Office for South-South Cooperation, to kindly deliver her remarks.
Your Excellency, Mr. Muraleedharan, Minister of State for External Affairs of the Republic of India, Your Excellency, Ambassador Ruchira Kamboj, Permanent Representative of India to UN, Your Excellency, Ambassador Ravindra, Deputy Permanent Representative of India to UN, Ms. Urara Marani, Under Secretary General and Associate Administrator of UNDP, Ms. Kanni Vignaraja, Assistant Secretary General and Regional Director of Asia and the Pacific, UNDP, Excellencies, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 5th anniversary of India-UN Development Partnership Fund. Today, we have passed 5 years of setting up this fund. The last 5 years has been very challenging for the world, yet this fund has risen up to the test, supporting 66 projects across 51 countries. And during the pandemic, this fund has really demonstrated the power of solidarity and the flexibility of South-South cooperation to fast-track resources to respond to the most urgent needs of developing countries, especially in small island development states. So today we are here to celebrate the accomplishment, but more importantly, it is to draw strength from strong commitment of a developing country like India. This is a commitment to South-South solidarity. This is a spirit that India has championed since the beginning of articulating the spirit and principles of South-South cooperation over 7 decades. And now, the whole philosophy of the world is one family still drives strong and concrete actions to demonstrate horizontal relationship, equal partnership for sustainable development. This is a commitment to multilateralism because India has chosen the entire UN system to support the implementation of projects supported by these funds. Till today, we have 12 UN agencies, programs, and entities supporting countries implementing projects. And this is a commitment to leaving no one behind, demonstrated from the support with priority on least developed countries, small island development states, demonstrated from projects, from supporting sustainable agriculture to supporting climate insurance to rural farmers, and to support schools transforming to be more accessible for children with disability. Just a few examples, but this is a true demonstration of the spirit of sustainable development. So here, I think 5 years, and I really commend all the partners for your collaboration to make the successful first 5 years. And today, with that spirit, with reflection on the experiences and knowledge learned, we are confident we will have more success in the future years. UN Office for South-South Cooperation, hosted in UNDP, is very proud to be entrusted by the Government of India to be the fund manager for this project, for this trust fund. And we look forward to working even more closely with you all to deliver more accomplishment through the support of this fund. And we hope this fund can inspire more actions from developing countries and developed countries to work together for a better world together. We welcome you all to this celebration today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Grace. May I now invite Ambassador Rucha Kamboj, Permanent Representative of India, to kindly deliver her remarks.
Honorable Minister, Shri Muraleedharan ji, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, good morning to all of you, and thank you for making time for being here at this special event, which shines a spotlight on what India does across the world. I've had Grace speaking ahead of me, and I don't think I could have said it better, so thank you very much. But I will make 3 quick points nevertheless. First and foremost, my country has a deep and a very abiding commitment in South-South and development cooperation. For us, it is truly a partnership amongst friends. This is not a donor-donee relationship. We have never let geography define us. We have never let geometry define us as we assist countries across the developing world. As far as we are concerned, doing it bilaterally is good, doing it plurilaterally is good, and doing it multilaterally is also good. My second point, this is not just empty rhetoric, I assure you. We have truly walked the talk always. Let me turn just very quickly to COVID. All of you know, but please bear me and hear me out once again. In the course of the pandemic, my country supplied 240 million doses. 240 million doses of the COVID vaccine to more than 100 countries across the globe. A very powerful statement on vaccine support and vaccine equity. I will rest my case there. Turning to even more current times, the food crisis. My country, again, and upon request, has extended humanitarian assistance to all our partners and friends, be it Ukraine, be it Afghanistan, be it Myanmar, be it Sudan, be it Yemen, be it Sri Lanka. And we will do more. As the speaker before me has said, it is ingrained in our ethos that the world is one family. And as my minister said yesterday at another UN fora, when India grows, we believe that we will be a lifting tide for all our partners and friends. My third point, the fund itself, but I think I don't have to say much because the speaker before me summed it up very beautifully. But very, very quickly, just to say that it was set up 5 years ago, and today indeed is the 5th anniversary. And we have particularly focused on the landlocked developing countries. We have focused on the least developed countries, and we have focused on the small island developing states. I have a long list, but nevertheless, I will shorten it and tell you very quickly that we have commissioned projects in 15 countries, from Trinidad and Tobago and Antigua and Barbuda in the Caribbean to Palau, the Bahamas, Papua New Guinea and Samoa in the Pacific, to Bolivia in South America, to the Gambia and countries like Mali and the Sahel in Africa. And again, as our speaker before me has mentioned, these have spanned the broadest spectrum, ranging from health, education, drinking water supply, COVID vaccinations, I just mentioned that, building disaster-resilient infrastructure, empowering women, I feel very happy saying that, increased capacity building, and creating centers of innovation, etc. I promise you the list is longer, but I have restricted myself to these sectors. As I taper off, I will say one more thing, that our approach to development cooperation and what I truly believe distinguishes us, perhaps from others, is that our approach, above all, is human-centric, based on mutual respect and national ownership principles with a commitment to sustainable development for all. And I would like to add here that the motto of the Government of India is together with everyone's support, and it fully resonates with the SDGs, the core philosophy of which, as all of you know, is leaving no one behind in the effort to dignify all. One final thought, ladies and gentlemen. India truly believes that South-South and triangular cooperation is the right thing to do. Working for development is also the right thing to do, the more so in today's world. And this is the small contribution, with the greatest humility I say that, this is the small contribution that India, with its commitment to multilateralism and South-South cooperation, is venturing to support at the United Nations. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Ruchira Kamboj, for your remarks. May I now invite Ms. Usha Rao Manari, USG and Associate Administrator for the UNDP, to kindly deliver her remarks.
Good morning, Honourable Minister, Ambassador, Excellencies and colleagues. It is an honour to be here to mark the 5th anniversary of the India-UN Partnership Fund, an extremely important pool of funding for the purpose of multilateral and global development. South-South and triangular cooperation is the cornerstone of the Sustainable Development Vision and strategy of the UNDP, but also the larger and broader UN system. Without such collaboration, cooperation, the transfer of knowledge and the transfer of expertise becomes almost impossible. And this fund is one of the important catalysts in the world today to make sure that that kind of transfer of knowledge, expertise, and experience occurs. India's generous contribution to the fund exemplifies a few things. First, a desire to be a catalyst, a true catalyst for global sustainable development and the achievement of the SDGs by 2030. It also offers an affirmation of India's multilateral approach, as the ambassador said, towards increasing and raising the prosperity of all nations and all peoples, particularly the most vulnerable. In being a partner with the UN and with UNDP, and we're proud to be a part of this fund, India provides not only funding, which of course is important, but also co-creation, a collaboration, a shoulder-to-shoulder approach to understanding where the needs are and how to serve those needs. We at UNDP and through the Office of South-South Cooperation are very proud partners of India in this effort, and I look forward to a very prosperous future, not only for the fund and its operations, but more importantly, for the people and countries that it serves. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Associate Administrator. May I now request Ms. Kanni Vignaraja, ASG and Regional Director for Asia and Pacific, UNDP, to kindly deliver her remarks.
Thank you, Excellency Minister Muraleedharan, Minister of State for External Affairs of the Government of India, Excellency Ambassador Ruchira Kamboj, our Permanent Representative in India to the UN, Usha Rao Manari, our Associate Administrator of UNDP, Excellencies, I'm so pleased to be here today, which marks the 5th anniversary of this amazing trusted partnership, the India-UN Development Partnership Fund. Now, we know this comes at a time when, for the first time in 32 years, the Human Development Index has shown a decline for 2 years in a row. Behind that number is a significant devastation and a wipeout of human development gains in so many parts of the world. Now, we can say it was the pandemic, but we know it's not just the pandemic. We have seen growing inequalities and injustices, including, as the ambassador said, growing gender disparities. We have sharp climate shocks like we've never seen before. We have conflicts, expected, unexpected, that have just exacerbated the cost of living, the cost of life in so many parts of the world. And a lot of what this has done is just wiped out our social contract. The social mistrust is so high in so many parts of the world. So to address this breakdown of trust, we need partnerships like this. And this is why the reliance of a partnership between India and the UN that is based on global solidarity. At the end of saying, whether it's through multilateral, whether it's through bilateral, South-South, trilateral cooperation, I think the ambassador said it well, that all of these are instruments, but fundamentally, the values, the purpose, the principles are the same, working to those who are getting left behind, countries and issues that are getting left behind. And to me, an interesting thing when I particularly look at examples that come from our small island developing states, be it in the Pacific or in the Caribbean, I see that this is a fund and people around it that do not have this confusion about, oh, is this humanitarian, is this peace, is this development? But the ability to connect the dots between that quick response, early recovery, and sustainable development. If I just take an example of the fund strengthening early warning systems in 7 Pacific Island countries and territories, both providing the necessary technology and the equipment, but at the same time building such core government capacities and training communities in early action. That's in the Pacific. If I take Barbuda, amazing how the beneficiaries of this fund, and that's who one has to always talk to, says that they went from one day of just seeing despair at a hospital just being destroyed, all their health systems destroyed by Hurricane Irma, to quick recovery, both the rehabilitation of the buildings, but building back better with state-of-the-art technology, and then bringing in the COVID response that Ambassador Kamboj spoke to. So India is showing us that there is no confusion. We often sit in this room and talk about these different pillars, and this is an area that says we can address all of this together. I think, as Usha spoke to, it's not only about the resources. The fundamental sharing of knowledge, the ease at which the sharing of technology has been done, and the development practices, not just what worked well, but also what has not worked. Because if you scale things in India and see what works and doesn't work, that practice, that honesty, really is so invaluable to so many countries around the world. And it was the COVID vaccines on the one hand, but also being able to take the overall digital platform that managed the vaccines and the stakeholders who benefited from that to so many parts of the world. It's a global public good offer, and that is rare these days. UNDP has been a trusted partner in all of these initiatives, both to India and to the receiving countries, and this is something that we hope we continue and we commit to stay with. So as a host of the United Nations Office of South-South Cooperation, which serves as a fund manager, and thank you, Grace, for your work in this area, and the implementer of many of its projects on the ground, UNDP will continue to support and commit to the India-UN Development Partnership Fund on the unique flows of knowledge, technology, innovation, and finance. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Vignaraja. I now have the honor to invite His Excellency Mr. V. Muraleedharan, Honorable Minister of State for External Affairs, to kindly deliver his remarks.
Ambassador Ruchira Kamboj, Ms. Usha Rao Munari, Associate Administrator, UNDP, Ms. Kani Vignaraja, ASG and Regional Director, Asia Pacific, UNDP, Mr. R. Ravindra, DPR, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished friends, I am very happy to be here amidst you all to commemorate the 5th anniversary of the India UN Development Fund. In the past 5 years, the fund and the footprint of its activities have grown by leaps and bounds. Today, India and the UN, in their collaborative efforts through this fund, are setting new benchmarks for South-South cooperation. Historically, India has prioritized cooperation over conflict, coexistence over competition, sharing over receiving, plurality over hegemony, and shared prosperity over zero-sum notions of growth. The motto, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, means development for all, underpins the spirit of South-South cooperation, which has been part of our ethos for centuries. Our neighborhood first policy embodies this spirit showcased in the significant development assistance extended to our neighbors. It was a manifestation of this spirit of solidarity that during the pandemic, India came to the forefront with its Vaccine Maitri initiative to supply of more than 240 million vaccine doses to over 100 countries. It has been our endeavor to reinforce these efforts by establishing new ties, new initiatives, new sectors of engagement, and new paradigms of cooperation. Over the years, India's development partnership has evolved organically to become a complete and comprehensive framework touching upon the full spectrum of human endeavor. This is reflective of the vast experience that our country has in the South-South development cooperation. Our own journey of development in the last 75 years brings forth many templates for other developing countries of the South. Be it digital connectivity, financial inclusion, or over 2 billion vaccinations, India offers scalable solutions and stands ever ready to share these solutions with other developing countries. Friends, the fallout of the pandemic has been devastating to communities and has dealt a severe blow to the pace of the attainment of the Sustainable Development Goals. The economic gap between countries and social groups has widened dramatically. It's therefore imperative that in the post-COVID recovery, we prioritize the attainment of the Sustainable Development Goals by focusing on vulnerable areas such as LDCs, especially Africa and the small island states. Mechanisms like the India UN Development Fund act as an effective tool to focus on critical areas such as climate resilience, environmental sustainability, gender equality, renewable energy, improving maternal health, water and sanitation, education, employment, livelihoods, disaster recovery and risk management, agriculture, development and infrastructure, etc., etc. I also wish to take this opportunity to acknowledge and congratulate the UN Office of South-South Cooperation and also all the UN agencies which have tirelessly worked to partner alongside us in making this vision of South-South cooperation a success. We have a long way ahead of us, and India is fully committed to realizing the true potential of this remarkable partnership. The developing countries of the South are bound by a sense of kinship and solidarity. In the spirit of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which means the world is one family, I would like to reiterate India's steadfast commitment to South-South cooperation. Our approach shall continue to be human-centric, based on principles of mutual respect and national ownership, with a commitment to sustainable development for all. Thank you all.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. May I now request all members of the dais to come down for the unveiling of the report. Thank you. Thank you, friends. We now have the honor of showcasing a small video which highlights the achievements of the India-UN Development Partnership Fund and gives you an oversight of what the fund has been up to in the past 5 years.
In the spirit of South-South cooperation, the India-UN Development Partnership Fund brings the country's development insight and capabilities to peer states.
India is, for all of us, a very important inspiration.
A founding and committed member of the United Nations, India has embraced sustainable development goals as a blueprint for a better world. This $150 million financing mechanism is implemented jointly with the United Nations system. Its impact has been felt across the developing world. In Zimbabwe, the fund helped tackle food insecurity by sponsoring training in small grains production. Tailoring the program to most vulnerable communities, over 5,200 farmers were trained in new agricultural techniques for high-quality grain that can be competitive at market.
Kutiko zvinezvi ndava kugona kuti chero kungava zvema-VSNL zvataidzidziswawo zvemikando kupfurikidza neni wacho ndiri kurarama ndakugonawo kupeya ma-school fees evana vavo.
In Timor-Leste, we partnered with the Ministry of Education to create an intensive youth boot camp focusing on empowering students with technical and entrepreneurial skills for computing and robotics.
इसी भावना के साथ भारत आज इंटीग्रेटेड, इक्विटेबल डेवलपमेंट की राह पर आगे बढ़ रहा है.
Developing countries across the world share many common ambitions and challenges. When we connect these energies, this collective knowledge, it unlocks world-changing potential. In Fiji, the fund helped pilot a disaster insurance program to help combat the challenges of smallholder agricultural workers. In the face of the coming climate crisis, this program offers a model for small island countries and the key industries they rely on. In Nicaragua, we partnered with the Ministry of Education to design the country's first master's degree program in disability with a focus on inclusive education. The program trained a new generation of teachers and administrators to educate and empower students with special needs.
cómo nosotros podemos enseñarles a ellos de una forma diferente, pero que ellos no se sientan diferente al grupo de sus compañeros. Estos niños no les gusta que sean tratados de acuerdo a su problema, sino que ellos quieren que sean tratados igual que los demás.
The results are clear. With over 66 projects completed across 51 countries, the India UN Fund has built a global network of South-South action, encouraging development that is both transformational and sustainable, and redefines progress on the terms of those living it.
We now have a video message by His Excellency Ms. Amina Mohammed, Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, regarding the fund.
Excellencies, colleagues, and dear friends, my sincerest congratulations on the 5th anniversary of the India UN Development Partnership Fund. The COVID-19 pandemic demonstrated in stark terms the need for global intergenerational solidarity and new ways to cooperate towards the achievement of the 2030 Agenda. It tested the limits of our existing social contract and is reshaping how we understand our roles and responsibilities in achieving shared goals. That's why the $150 million India UN Fund is so significant. It represents a distinctive and successful example of how we can advance and adapt South-South cooperation to be timely and responsive to emerging country needs. Over these 5 years, the partnership has put the knowledge and expertise of the South at the forefront and encouraged innovation to enhance financing, capacity building, and technical cooperation. Even in the face of the global pandemic, the fund has continued to advance country-led solutions. The fund supported the provision of PPE equipment, the digitalization of schools and education, and digital solutions for micro and small enterprises. Projects have also placed a spotlight on the most vulnerable, including women, farmers, indigenous, and youth, while also focusing on the transformational impact of South-South cooperation, fund and investing in digitalization and information and communication technologies to bridge the digital divide. It has supported developing countries as they manage and reduce risk in the immediate term and build long-term recovery and resilience. The scale and scope of today's challenges require us to build on such initiatives and intensify our efforts for a just and sustainable recovery. At the country level, the UN development system is a strong partner in realizing the potential of South-South projects. And at the global level, platforms like the Development Cooperation Forum, the Financing for Development Forum, and the SDG Investment Fair ensure that country-level realities are reflected in global policy and norm setting. My friend, today's challenges require exactly this kind of cooperation and collaboration. As we celebrate the accomplishments of the India UN Fund today, I want to thank India for its thoughtful leadership and its commitment to advancing high-impact South-South cooperation. Let us use this positive momentum and scale up our commitments to BAPA Plus 40 and the achievement of the SDGs. Thank you.
So, Excellencies, dear colleagues, we have heard the high-level opening remarks telling us the greatness of this fund, the great achievements. Yet, all this cannot be possible without the countries working very hard for those projects and without the support from other countries that celebrate the spirit of South-South cooperation. So I have the honor today to moderate the second part of today's event, to have PRs from countries, either countries that implement projects or countries observing this fund and would like to provide support to this fund. I would like to invite the Ambassador, Permanent Representative of Belize, His Excellency, Mr. Carlos Fuller, to be on the stage, to take seat and also His Excellency Mr. Santiago Praset, Ambassador, Permanent Representative of Fiji, and Ambassador His Excellency Agnes Chimburi Molande, Ambassador, Permanent Representative of Malawi. His Excellency Ambassador Omar Halale, Permanent Representative of Kingdom of Morocco. Also, Ambassador Lamin Fati, Permanent Representative of the Gambia. Her Excellency Ms. Yana Victoria Said, Ambassador, Permanent Representative of Palau. His Excellency Mr. Albert Ranganai Chimbini, Ambassador, Permanent Representative of Zimbabwe. I know we have many more permanent representatives and deputy permanent representatives here today to join this celebration. And we will also have the ambassador and deputy permanent representative from Nicaragua to also comment from the floor. But here, Your Excellencies, thank you very much for joining us today. And we would like to invite you to share your perspectives, insights, and advice for the Trust Fund. So first, I have the honor to invite Permanent Representative of Belize to take the floor for your 3 minutes remarks. Thank you, Ambassador.
Honourable Minister, Excellency, Belize commends the Government of India and joins the international community in celebrating the 5th anniversary of the India-UN Development Partnership Fund. Belize has so far received grant support for 2 projects under the fund, one for human development and one for health COVID-19 response. The first project, valued at $600,000, provided support for upgrading the facilities of the Youth Challenge Program for at-risk youth and the construction of a multi-purpose health and sport facility in San Ignacio town in western Belize. These outcomes contributed to reducing poverty and hunger by serving as a center for a food pantry program targeting the most needy, created employment through self-financed direct hiring of staff who administer the pantry program, and kiosks built to house small vendors using the facilities. The project also contributed to climate change mitigation and awareness through the use of renewable energy to power the facility. This project concluded in 2019. In 2020, facing the economic crisis of the COVID-19 pandemic, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Foreign Trade and Immigration and the Ministry of Health and Wellness submitted a proposal to the Permanent Mission of India to the United Nations on the 23rd of June 2020. The original objectives were: 1, to strengthen response capacity of the health system to COVID-19 through the provision of key medical equipment and test kits. 2, to reduce the risk of infection among health workers by securing. And 3, to increase awareness on the prevention, response and recovery from COVID-19 among vulnerable urban and rural populations in Belize. On the 26th of May 2021, we submitted a request to reprogram the project work plan in line with the current priority outcomes for Belize by replacing the second objective with one to improve accessibility to local health services in support of COVID-19 recovery through the provision of a medical waste incinerator for a new health facility in Kikauka village. This amendment was approved. A second amendment was requested and approved by the board in May 2022, with official signatures affixed in July 2022. This authorized a 10-month no-cost extension to ensure the completion of the procurement processes for the incinerator, as well as the inclusion of 2 mortuary freezer coolers that were recommended by the Ministry of Health to be procured using the remaining funds. This $1 million US dollar project will be successfully concluded by December of this year. In April 2022, we submitted a proposal as part of a CARICOM regional initiative requesting support to strengthen maternal and child health services against mother-to-child transmission plus of HIV, syphilis, and hepatitis B. Support for the implementation of this project for CARICOM member states is within the CARICOM Framework for Health, Caribbean Cooperation in Health, the Caribbean Regional Strategic Framework on HIV and AIDS, and the PAHO action plans for the reduction of HIV and other sexually transmitted infections, as well as viral hepatitis. The project will focus on strengthening the maternal health care services to successfully implement the key primary prevention and treatment services to support the sustainability of this project. It is anticipated that the project will also contribute to improved outcomes for antenatal care, such as the provision of quality services for women and children, which by extension support the reduction of maternal and child mortality. We anticipate that this request will be considered when the present project concludes in December 2022. Once again, I wish to thank and commend the Government of India and the UN system for an effective, efficient, and flexible program that responds to the immediate needs of developing countries. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ambassador. And from the trust fund management perspective, we also know that the project implementation in Belize coordinates multiple ministries and it demonstrates an integrated approach. Thank you so much. Now I have the honor to invite Ambassador and Permanent Representative to UN from Fiji. Ambassador, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Grace, and Minister Muraleedharan, Mr. Ruchira, colleagues, good morning, and Minister, warm welcome to the UN, and congratulations on the 5th anniversary of the India-UN Partnership Development Fund. Fiji and the Pacific Islands are beneficiaries of this fund, and we're also an active partnership in the operationalization of the programs. One of the regional-wide programs, and we also have Ambassador Ileana from Palau who may speak a lot more about this. We have a regional solar energy installation program. 11 countries, including Fiji, have benefited from an overall $11 million US allocation for this project. Through this allocation, small island developing states across the Pacific Islands have utilized it to extend renewable energy, off-grid energy solutions. And the beneficiaries of these programs, I would love to see the data are substantial, spread across a very large part of Fiji, but also across the Pacific. The other exciting thing about the renewable energy program is that within this, you have brought some of the best talent of Indian talent as well as Indian enterprises into off-grid energy solutions through this. Another exciting program, Minister, that I'd really want to spend a minute or so, if I have that to talk about, and Kani from UNDP is here. We spoke about it at a big UNDP meeting only yesterday through a relatively small grant of US $850,000 to Fiji. The UNDP has brought some of its best global talent to Fiji to develop a parametric insurance facility for the poorest households in Fiji. These are the households which are uninsurable, and disasters happen now very frequently as a consequence of climate change. There are no private sector solutions that exist for this type of households. So with a $850,000 grant, UNDP has worked very hard with a number of other countries, catalyzed a lot more resources and brought in private sector. As a consequence of that, now 50,000 households, poorest of the poorest households across Fiji, have an insurance for flooding, for disasters, for climate catastrophes when they strike with the very rapid payout. We think this is not only a very exciting program for us, something that we could not have worked on without the catalytic support that was provided by India through this partnership, but also something that has a lot of relevance for many other developing countries, and we'd love to share some of the knowledge through UNDP for that. So I really congratulate India for this partnership with the UNDP. I think it is one of the most exciting partnerships that we have within the UN system, and congratulations again on the 5th anniversary, and thank you, India, very much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. I know that Fiji is not only a project partner country with the India Fund, but also gets support from India, Brazil, South Africa Fund. And Fiji is also supporting South-South agenda. We thank you very much for recently hosting in Fiji the Pacific Roundtable on South-South cooperation. Very important inputs to the Global Director General Forum on South-South cooperation. Thank you very much. Now I have the honor to invite Ambassador and Permanent Representative of Malawi to UN. Excellency, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Honorable Minister, Excellencies, distinguished guests, I'm pleased to join you today as we commemorate the 5th anniversary of the India-UN Development Partnership Fund, which aims to achieve a transformative SDG impact through South-South cooperation and triangular cooperation. The government of Malawi, as one of the LDCs in Africa, is partnering with India and the United Nations Office of the South-South Cooperation in the implementation of 2 projects that are catalytic and instrumental in helping us address our development challenges. Through the project funded by the India-UN Development Partnership Fund, India is supporting Malawi to build an inclusive digital economy. We are favorably impressed by the progress India has made in human development through digitalization of government services. Inspired by such successes, we are pleased to receive comprehensive support to establish an open digital finance ecosystem in Malawi. This project, implemented by the United Nations Capital Development Fund, is helping us develop relevant policies, institutions, and systems, such as digital Know Your Client tools, to expand financial services to reach the remote and underprivileged and underserved communities. A recently completed project also, supported by the India, Brazil, and South Africa Facility for Poverty and Hunger Alleviation Fund, IBSA Fund, and implemented by UN Women, contributed to our efforts to eliminate child marriages. Thanks to India and its IBSA partners, more than 700 girl child marriage survivors were provided scholarships to enroll back in school, thus increasing their chances for reintegration and better livelihood and brighter future. Beyond practical direct support to these girls, this project also helped us to work on the policy environment to prevent child marriages. But I hope that this project can be extended to support the girls who fell victims of child marriages during the COVID-19 lockdown. We thank India for its support and the UN support for its technical support in implementation of these initiatives, and we look forward to partnering more. I thank you.
Ambassador, and we also from the UN Office for South-South Cooperation thank Malawi in your capacity as chair of LDCs, advocate for South-South cooperation for LDCs. And in the recent Global Development, South-South Development Expo, your foreign minister delivered remarks on the ministerial dialogue on South-South cooperation. We benefited from her insights. Thank you very much. Now I have the honor to invite Ambassador and Permanent Representative of the Kingdom of Morocco. Ambassador, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mr. Minister, Excellencies. I'd outset, I would like to congratulate India for the 5th anniversary of the India UN Development Partnership Fund, a celebration that is both significant and timely of an outstanding asset of cooperation. I say this occasion to reiterate on behalf of the Kingdom of Morocco our deep appreciation for the genuine solidarity that has historically guided the government and people of India with the developing countries. The India UN Development Partnership Fund is practical demonstration of key channel of bankable partnerships with developing countries aiming at advancing and accelerating the achievement of sustainable development across the world. The Kingdom of Morocco, as a strong advocate for the South-South and triangular cooperation based on the principles of solidarity and national ownership, shares India's vision in support of concrete projects that advance all sustainable development goals. Following the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, India played a pioneering role and forward-thinking role in containing the immediate and long-term effects of the pandemic. This was demonstrated through active and supportive multilateral action and result-oriented South-South cooperation. We also welcome the priority accorded to partnering with small island developing states, less developed countries, landlocked developing countries, and countries affected by disasters, including those in the African continent, especially in the current challenging time marked by uncertainties. The Kingdom of Morocco, which has deep and long-standing relationship of friendship with India, stands ready to engage hands in hands with India in the framework of South-South and triangle cooperation in key priority sectors for sustainable development, such as energy, agriculture, and fertilization, new and emerging technology, training, and capacity building. Happy anniversary and long life to the India UN Development Partnership Fund.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ambassador. Now I have the honor to invite the Ambassador, Permanent Representative of the Gambia, Ambassador Dipa, to have the floor. Ambassador, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Honorable Minister, Excellencies, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, I am grateful for the invitation to attend this auspicious occasion of the celebration of the 5th India UN Development Partnership Fund anniversary, as well as the historic friendship and partnership between our two countries. This has been a remarkable journey for resilience, global solidarity, development, and success, championed by India. Madam Chair, this 5th anniversary of India UN Development Partnership Fund brings renewed devotion to further strengthening of our long-standing relations founded on compassion, solidarity, respect, and mutual prosperity. Over the past decades, the substance of our bilateral ties have been characterized by the exchange of educational, political, social, and economic partnership between our two governments. A lot of our civil servants have benefited from training at professional level from India, but also they have also supported our medical sector. As a strategic development partner, the government of India is assured of our strong support and true friendship for the advancement of our two countries. This friendship is anchored on shared values that encourage our unwavering commitment to nurturing mutual growth with a view to strengthening relations and deepening cooperation. Excellencies, distinguished participants, the strong bilateral relationship enjoyed by our two countries is further boosted by India's catalytic role in fostering South-South cooperation. across the developing world. India's contribution in this regard further strengthened the push for the attainment of the United Nations Agenda 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. India's unique and historic role in championing attainment of global development goals, including the SDGs, has revitalized hope among members of the Group of 77 and the least developed countries that, yes, the future is bright. Therefore, it is important for all of us as partners to work together in the face of global challenges that face our individual countries, but no individual country can do it alone. Therefore, it is important to have cooperation at national level, but also at regional level, but global cooperation can solve most of the challenges that we are faced with. And thank you, India, for championing the cause. In conclusion, Madam Chair, as we are faced with the triple challenges, India, we would encourage India and other development partners to replenish the fund to United Nations so that it can be easily accessed. Availability of funding is one thing, but the access by least developed countries and other challenging countries is another issue. So this fund is there to support and make it easy access for other developing and least developed countries to access for their immediate needs. In conclusion, Madam Chair, the government of the Gambia looks forward to strengthening the already existing bilateral relations that our two countries are enjoying and continue to enjoy by leveraging on new and future areas of cooperation. The Gambia is on the verge of launching a new national development plan that will succeed the National Development Plan 2018 to 2021, aimed at recovering devastating circumstances by COVID-19, and this is why we dub this recovery as post-green recovery after COVID. So it is important that India continue to support countries like us to weather the storm of the aftermath of COVID, but as well as the challenging global challenge of climate change. To that end, India has just supported the National Disaster Management Agency of the Gambia to support, to enhance and build their capacity to better respond to disaster. Therefore, to achieve this ambitious national development plan, the Gambia would count on our renewed partnership to attain on schedule, the promises of Agenda 2030 SDGs. Finally, Excellencies, as a recipient of India UN Development Partnership Fund, we are pleased to see India renew its unwavering commitment to the partnership that continues to provide sustainable development within the framework of South-South cooperation. On that note, I thank you all for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Ambassador.
Thank you.
Now I have the honor to invite Ambassador and Permanent Representative of Palau to UN.
Honorable Minister, dear Sister Ambassador Ruchira, Excellencies, colleagues, thank you for inviting me to present Palau's remarks. I'm very pleased to be here to celebrate this key milestone of a successful 5 years, as Palau has been a key beneficiary of South-South cooperation through the India UN Development Partnership Fund. One of our most notable projects together is a $1.65 million grant funneled through UNOPS for supporting Palau's Ministry of Health and Human Services by rehabilitating several community health centers, allowing accessible, safe, and comfortable spaces for community members to receive quality and efficient primary healthcare services. Just to give some context, because Palau is an archipelago with many small islands, travel from many communities to the large hospitals in the main city of Koror is both long and expensive. For example, it can take 2 hours to travel by boat from a neighboring island, and transport through public means is sporadic. Because of the high cost of fuel in our country, for example, we recently hit $7 a gallon because of the war in Ukraine. The the cost is also prohibited for many of our community members. So having these refurbished and new centers allowed for over 2,000 people to have access to healthcare, which is important at any time, but was particularly helpful during the COVID pandemic, and were utilized frequently for vaccinations and inpatient care, and saved many, many lives. These centers were also the difference in having a toddler obtain early care for the flu or fever, rather than wait for a much longer time period to travel the 2 hours to get to the main hospital and have to receive much more serious treatment. Through the project, 18 construction workers were also trained in ISO procedures in Palau, and this will also help progress the local construction quality standards for safer developments in our country. Our president said, and I quote, "India's generosity and commitment to supporting Palau's public health and UNOPS's unparalleled administrative skill will literally save countless lives in Palau." Through the fund, India also provided a $1 million grant to help refurbish key infrastructure, which allowed Palau to host the 7th Our Ocean Conference, which was initially slated for 2020, but due to COVID was postponed to April of this year. This allowed Palau to successfully host many heads of states, ministers, civil service participants, and these refurbished buildings are now being used by our local community for sports, community events, and student events at the local community college. We thank India for your support, which allowed us to successfully host the first ever Our Ocean Conference in a SIDS country, and resulted in 410 commitments worth over $16 billion for oceans issue. Palau is quite far from India, and so your camaraderie and assistance is noticeable and even more appreciated. As demonstrated by these two projects, the benefits for Palau span far and wide. We were able to achieve objectives for SDGs at grassroots community levels through access to quality healthcare. And two, you also allowed Palau to host a world-class international event where we were able to generate significant momentum for SDG 14 and also show the world firsthand our vulnerabilities to climate change as CIS countries. We look forward to further collaboration and thank India and the India-UN Development Partnership Fund for your generosity and steadfast support. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Now I have the honor to invite Ambassador, Permanent Representative of Zimbabwe to UN.
Honorable Minister, Ambassador Ruchira Kamboj, Excellencies, allow me to convey sincere apologies from Ambassador Chimbindi, who could not be able to join you at this auspicious event, the celebration of a significant milestone, 5 years since the launch of the transformative India-UN Development Partnership Fund. Zimbabwe is a proud partner country, and we are pleased to have this opportunity to share our experience from the support rendered through the Partnership Fund. Most of you might be aware that it is estimated that 55.7 million people in Southern Africa are facing food insecurity and malnutrition due to years of drought, rising food, fuel and fertilizer costs, and supply chain disruptions. Zimbabwe has not been spared, and while the impact is spread generally across the country, it is especially challenging to women and girls. The government of Zimbabwe has partnered with the WFP, FAO, to implement a small grains program in Mangwe and Shirezi districts. The program targets the most vulnerable of the population, and the entire initiative is supported by the India-UN Development Partnership Fund. This is an integrated resilience building initiative aimed at improving livelihoods, food security, and nutrition that is working to protect vulnerable communities from climate-related and other shocks by giving people the additional skills needed to withstand these shocks through seed, fertilizer, inputs, and skills building. The India-UN Fund project has thus far reached 5,200 smallholder farmers and 40 agricultural extension officers in these two districts. Through the program, our farmers are learning to cultivate sorghum and cowpea using agronomy methods that are based on conservation, agricultural principles, group development, collective marketing, post-harvest loss management, and addressing gender issues in agriculture. The idea is for them to get high-quality grain that can be competitive on the market. Through this initiative, women are empowered to address the underlying drivers of food insecurity. They are trained to grow different crop varieties and are able to withstand severe drought. This protects them from getting poor harvests. We are witnessing in Zimbabwe, what we are witnessing in Zimbabwe is a very good example of trilateral South-South cooperation being carried out through the India-UN Development Partnership Fund. We are greatly satisfied that the fund is indeed offering valuable support to projects which contribute to the achievement of Sustainable Development Goals as determined by the needs and requirements of the recipient countries. Zimbabwe is equally pleased to note that the funding is provided in adherence with the principles of South-South cooperation, which place priority on national ownership and leadership, equality, sustainability, development of local capacity, and mutual benefit. In conclusion, Madam Moderator, let me once again applaud and congratulate the Government of India for the exemplary leadership and dedication to the fund that provides much-needed support for national development priorities of developing countries. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. And last but not least, let me have the honor to invite Deputy Permanent Representative of Nicaragua, Ambassador Carlos Morales, to provide your remarks.
Thank you very much. Honorable Minister, Excellency Ambassador Cambo, distinguished guests from the United Nations and South-South Cooperation Community, distinguished colleagues. Thank you very much for the invitation. First of all, Nicaragua extends its warmest congratulations to the Permanent Representative of India and the United Nations Office for South-South Cooperation of this 5th anniversary of India-United Nations Development Partnership Fund. We commend its 5 years of hard and valuable work and its convening of this very important celebration, because today we are celebrating cooperation. Nicaragua recognized the leadership shown by the India and the United Nations Office of South-South Cooperation in carrying out this outstanding partnership, which is an example of cooperation and solidarity necessary for the future generations and the future of the world. In this context, Nicaragua expressed its confidence that this partnership and its framework will have a positive effect towards accelerating the compliance with the 2030 agenda. Its timeliness and synergy with the development plans and the state of the implementation of sustainable development goals of the participating countries and the contribution in that direction. The program in Nicaragua of the India and the United Nations Development Partnership Fund, generously funding assistance and inclusive for education and children with disabilities, smoothly fits into the sustainable development policy of Nicaraguan government that is being taking care of education since 2007. This program, for which Nicaragua children with physical challenges and their parents are grateful, is an invaluable component of as Nicaragua move on a firm path in its efforts to meet sustainable development goals. Despite the many obstacles it faces at present along with the rest of the developing world, and despite the detrimental effects of unilateral coercive measures it faces, Nicaragua believes in a more just and equitable world and friendly and mutual beneficial relation among the countries of the South. In this aspect of education and inclusivity are fundamental for the eradication of poverty. Once again, congratulations for the 5th anniversary of India and United Nations Development Partnership, and we look forward for the next 5 years of vision for a better tomorrow for the South. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Excellencies, from your country perspective to share with us the diverse of projects covering all different areas, benefiting livelihood of people on the ground. And that is why the UN system is a strong support behind you. At your request, we have 12 UN agencies, programs and funds supporting the implementation, leveraging their different expertise and complementing each other. So today, let's give 5 minutes to 5 different agency representatives here. Each one gave us 1 minute recollection of the proud role in supporting this fund. So first, I have the honor to invite Mr. Dirk Wagner, UNDP resident representative, Papua New Guinea, speaks from his seat there.
Honorable Minister, Ambassador, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the global COVID pandemic has placed extraordinary pressure on health systems around the world. As it spread across the world and it affected developing countries disproportionately, and Papua New Guinea was no exception to this. The opportunity to partner with the India UN Development Partnership Fund was agreed between the Prime Minister of India and the Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea. It was a call for assistance received and responded to in the spirit of South-South cooperation. There was also the trust and confidence in the United Nations capacity through the UN Development Programme to deliver during this time of urgent and critical need. The government of India's contribution delivered 10 fully kitted ambulances, catered for the upgrade of existing ambulances and provided for comprehensive training for frontline health workers and paramedics to be able to effectively utilize this new equipment. This support filled a critical gap during the pandemic and enabled thousands of Papua New Guineans to access emergency health services during the pandemic, saved hundreds of lives, both in the capital but also in the provinces and remote areas of the country, and continues to do so. The provision of this support showed what can be done in times of crisis. It showed that partnership, friendship, solidarity are at the core of South-South cooperation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now I have the honor to invite Ms. Francesca Delman, Representative and Country Director, WFP in Zimbabwe, connecting on screen, virtually, speaking to us. Yes, Madam,
yeah, thank you very much. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I hope you can hear me okay.
Yes, very clear.
All right, well, let me start by congratulating the team on the report and the very informative video. And as so eloquently outlined by the permanent representation of Zimbabwe present in the room today, with support from the India UN Development Partnership Fund, the World Food Programme, the Food and Agriculture Organization, and the government's Agriculture Extension Agency, Agritex, jointly support comprehensive investments in climate-smart agripreneurship. That means that we are helping to reintroduce drought-tolerant traditional grains. We're helping to enhance equipment and infrastructure. We've tried to reduce post-harvest losses and connect farmers to markets. And we collectively empower smallholder farmers in rural areas to better prepare for recurring droughts. As we've just heard from the colleague from Zimbabwe, that the whole of Southern Africa is very much affected, and Zimbabwe is not spared in that regard. As we approach the COP27, it is farmers like these that are contributing the least to the climate crisis, and yet they are the most impacted by its effects. And our program is a positive step towards enhancing and climate-proofing Zimbabwe's food system. And it's an example of how South-South cooperation, through the exchange of expertise and the provision of critical inputs, can make a world of difference, not only to rural farming communities, but also to Zimbabwe's agriculture and economic development. And we are very proud to be part of this important partnership. Let me convey to you the appreciation of the people we jointly support in Zimbabwe, and we wish you all a happy 5th anniversary. Thank you.
Now I have the honor to invite Mr. Gary Cornell, UN Resident Coordinator for Jamaica, the Bahamas, Bermuda, Turks and Caicos, and Cayman Islands. Gary, the floor is
colleagues,
yours.
thank you. Excellencies, colleagues, thank you so much for the opportunity. Let me just add my voice to commending the government of India for this excellent initiative. Let me also add one perspective, as I'm sure you've already heard several excellent examples of innovative program and interventions. In our case, the fund has builds on and actually strengthens the reform system because it implicates the resident coordinator. We're able to bring together the UN country team, look at our development framework, think of areas that may be strategic, have transformative effect, where we have a limited footprint, and we have a collective understanding of what we need to do. And then that allows us to agree on which agency is best suited to actually do the implementation. In the case of Jamaica, we received just this week the excellent news that the project that will be implemented by FAO will be actually funded and implemented. It's $1 million will be put aside to execute this program. In the case of the Bahamas, the flexibility of the program has allowed us to actually increase our footprint in the Bahamas in the aftermath of the Dorian hurricanes. And this was incredibly important for us because based on this investment, we are now much more involved in the Bahamas and addressing a lot more issues with the government. The flexibility of the fund allows us to work closely with government to identify very strategic areas that have the potential to maximize impact. So overall, it's been an incredible experience, and I'm so grateful to be a part of its implementation. Over back to you, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you. Now I have the honor to invite Mr. Henry Domel, Director of the Inclusive Finance, UNCDF. The floor is yours, Henry.
Thank you very much. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, UNCDF is very grateful for the support from India through the India-UN Development Partnership Fund. And we have applied this support in East Africa, namely Zambia and Malawi, on developing eKYC system, as we heard in the case of Malawi, to improve onboarding of low-income segment to the formal financial sector, and linking financial transactions to the real economy, such as clean energy payments, agriculture, clean water, healthcare, and education. And the fund we receive allowed us to ensure targeted intervention in the early stage of those interventions, enabling other donors and development partners to then come and scale up those interventions towards commercial viability and crowding of the private sector. The support has also been further extended to the Far East in the Pacific towards creating a climate disaster risk financing and parametric insurance framework for Fiji. The increasing frequency and intensity of climate-fueled natural hazards in Fiji and the rest of the Pacific has had devastating consequences, as we know. And through the funds, UNCDF has been developing index-based insurance and other climate disaster risk financing instruments for individual business organizations in the Pacific. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Henry. Now I would like to invite Dr. Cyril Ugati, Director, Health Emergencies Department, WHO, PAHO.
Thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure for PAHO, and we are proud to be part of this successful and fruitful collaboration between India and the UN Development Partnership Fund through our long partnerships with the UN Office of South-South Cooperation. As you all know, COVID-19 pandemic affected every country in the world across all ranges of the development. The data is clear. The COVID-19 pandemic has jeopardized has our countries back almost a decade in terms of poverty and extreme poverty, and in some instances, even 25 years back. South-South cooperation and triangular cooperation have been instrumental in supporting our countries to tackle these and other challenges. Distinguished colleagues, while we continue to tackle COVID-19 and look for the future, we will continue to work with member states to build resilient health systems and implement structural and transformative actions across health, social, and economic actors. Together, we must work towards more inclusive, sustainable, resilient societies that will allow future generations to survive and thrive. We believe there is a great opportunity for the UN agencies, for funds and programs to act as interlocutors, jointly identifying the most pressing challenges and supporting countries to tackle them through South-South cooperation. We look forward to our continued collaboration to bring attention to the critical issues under the umbrella of social determinants of health that continue to jeopardize sustainable development, which have been exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic and other ongoing challenges. We are in this together. We must work together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cyril. A big thank you to all the UN system partners for your strong support to putting developing countries' ownership and leadership up front, but behind that, you provide always ready support, leveraging expertise as requested by the governments. Thank you very much. And now we concluded this substantive discussion segment. I would like to pass on to Mr. Singh to moderate the closing segment. Thank you very much. From UNOSSC, leveraging our global and UN system-wide mandate to promote South-South cooperation, we wish to work with you even closer. Thank you.
Thank you, Grace, for moderating this rather substantive segment. For the closing remarks now, may I invite Ambassador R. Ravindra, Deputy Permanent Representative of India, to deliver his remarks.
Honorable Minister of State for External Affairs, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be brief in my remarks in the interest of time. Thank you all for your presence to mark the 5th anniversary of India-UN Development Partnership Fund. This partnership, as you all know, was initiated to ensure predictable and sufficient resources and their effective deployment to support inclusive growth. The partnership has grown over the last 5 years, has become a successful example of South-South cooperation with the multilateral system. The activities undertaken by the India-UN Development Fund have touched many lives across the globe, with projects in almost every continent. This is a true testimony of India's age-old ethos and values, and our commitment to integrated, holistic, and equitable development. We are grateful for the words of support, solidarity, and cooperation that we heard today. We will continue to work hard to meet the growing expectations. Excellencies, this is also a moment to reflect on the challenges that lay before all of us. The aftermath of the pandemic, climate change, global supply chain complications, rising food and energy prices are affecting the global south more. We need to be cognizant of these challenges as we strategize together to set new goals for the fund in the future. Excellencies, I take this opportunity to congratulate the team UNOSSC, which is the fund manager and secretariat. The team's dedication to harness the reach of UN agencies and deliver last mile connectivity has significantly contributed to the vision of South-South cooperation. We are really grateful to the secretariat. Excellencies, it has been our endeavor to utilize this fund to support nationally driven projects in least developed countries, small island developed countries, and landlocked developing countries. India will continue to partner with the countries of the Global South to find solutions to the problems and vulnerabilities that affect all of us. We remain at the disposal of member states seeking to utilize the fund and reassure that the activities of India-UN Development Fund shall always be guided by priorities of the member states. We will strive to create local capacity and opportunities with the aim to enhance the potential for growth and sustainable development. I thank you again for gracing this event today with your esteemed presence. Thank you all.
Thank you, Excellency. With that, we draw the event to a close. Thank you, distinguished colleagues, for being a part of this celebration today. May I now invite all of you to Vienna Cafe downstairs for some refreshments. We would be happy to see you all there. Thank you.